From the banks of Dewey Lake, it's the Dewey Pod Monster.
All right, welcome back. My name is John, and this is the Dewey Pod Monster podcast. This is your weekly podcast about consumption. We are, of course, proud members of the You Run Podcast Network. You can find all of our old episodes, all of our new episodes, and all the other great shows at yourunpodcast.com. With me this week is the host of the Dewey Pod Monster podcast. He's looking a little perturbed at the moment, but his name is Sean. And Sean, how are you doing this wonderful evening?
John, you're the country's leading herpetologist. You have a wonderful mind, a doctor's degree, and beautiful tits.
Did you just call me a herpetologist or a herpetologist?
Herpetologist.
Herp? With a P? With
a P.
Okay. Like herpes. Gotcha.
Yes, exactly.
I don't have that, thankfully. But aside from whatever diseases I might or might not have, what have you been watching this week?
Well, I just regaled you pre-recording of my Cedar Point adventures. And I want to know from the audience if anybody out there goes to Cedar Point, number one, and number two, what is their favorite ride? That's what I would love to hear some feedback on. I'm going to start, we're going to do the three things. I'm going to do the three things. I'm going to start with two things that I enjoyed. And one thing I'm pretty sure that you watched, and I want to get your opinion on it, because I don't know if you enjoyed it as much as I did or didn't enjoy as much as I didn't. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is a documentary, because, love me some documentaries. Actually, two of the things I'll talk about are documentaries. The first one is a 2023, I believe, documentary from Chris Wilcha, and it's called Flipside. And I saw it when I was flying, and I thought I'm going to watch this at home because I didn't get a chance to finish the whole thing. But basically, it's a documentary on Chris Wilcha's career it's like a retrospective kind of thing about his career and making commercials and documentaries. And his first film was documenting his career as like a marketing rep or something with Columbia House Record Club. And it ended up getting submitted and won a bunch of awards, and he got all this acclaim for this documentary that he had made. And it allowed him to kind of get his foot in the door to film some music videos. He recorded some commercials, or he made some commercials, and that would fund his documentary career. And this whole thing is kind of showing all these unfinished projects that he had and the different commercials that he had made based on like his experiences in life. And the documentary, the ultimate whole like subject of the documentary is this record store that he worked at when he was like his first, formative job in his career. Well, not really his career, but like his high school job, that he worked at this record store called Flipside Records in his hometown. And about how like time was just kind of passing this record store by, and another record store opened in the same town that was focusing more on doing like the GameStop model, right? Where they're selling Funko Pops, and they're selling vinyl, and they're selling t-shirts, and they're selling, different...
all kinds of shit.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff that kind of relate back to stuff that music collectors would be into. Maybe they sell like record needles, or I don't know, whatever. So it's a whole like examination on not only that record store that he worked at and how, again, time was kind of passing it by, because this guy, the original record store had all these, stacks and stacks and stacks. Like the entire basement was full of vinyl. You couldn't find anything in the shelves because it was just like, they had everything. They had all these different records. They had hundreds of, probably like tens of thousands of records in this place. And it was a not only examination on like the missed opportunities of this record store, but the missed opportunities in the director's own life. It was really pretty good. I liked it quite a bit. I believe like Judd Apatow helped produce it. He was in it a little bit. The other good thing that I watched.
Before you get into that.
Oh, John.
I want to say real quick.
Yeah.
Best local record store in Michigan, in the Metro Detroit area, Flipside Records in Berkeley, coincidental. If you're in the Metro Detroit area and you like horror movies like we talk about on this, definitely stop into Flipside. One of those collections owned by someone that died kind of has found its way in there, and there is stuff in there right now that you just don't find unless someone dies. So it is a cool spot that has a lot of cool music in there, but they got a lot of cool media in there too. So
thanks, dead people.
Anyway, I digress. Yeah, thanks, dead guy. So I got a couple gems myself from you.
The other thing that I watched was an ESPN 30 for 30. It's the most recent one. It's called Empire Skate. And I don't know if you've seen it, but it's basically...
I didn't even know about it yet.
It's about the New York street skating scene, like the origins of it, the rise of different skate shops. And primarily it's about the rise of the skate shop and the streetwear brand Supreme. And I don't know if you know of Supreme. It's like...
I do. And I saw a panel or whatever advertising this, and Supreme kind of pisses me off. But anyway.
So you're familiar with the brand. It is about Supreme, but it's also like the rise of the street skating culture in New York and how, you know, a lot of it was primarily based out of California because that's where all the skate companies were really from, and the big skate shops, all the big skate teams, and not necessarily Supreme, but the other skate shops that rose up were ones that helped push street skate culture in New York. And yeah, I mean, I have my own opinions on some of the stuff that they show in the movie, but I thought overall it was a pretty cool look at that whole kind of thing in the mid to early 90s to late 90s, 2000s, you know, the time when we grew up. So it was a pretty cool little examination about it. And then also about Supreme, the brand, and the scarcity and how much they can sell stuff for, and the people that go like bonkers over it. So that was interesting.
That's
I think,
where I get annoyed with them.
Yeah. I think that was, that's probably wherever you can watch 30 for 30. Again, hardest working show notes in the business. We'll have it linked in the show notes, all the stuff that we talked about. Hopefully free versions, sometimes not, unfortunately. And the last thing I'm going to talk about, and you brought this to my attention, so I'm hoping you watched it, and I think you did, the movie The Freeway Maniac from 1989.
I've been saving it because I figured we're going to cover it on an episode. So I haven't watched it yet.
Okay.
It's very high on my it's kind of like, you know how I found Instant Death and like spent, I don't know, 6 months saying, got to watch this fucking movie.
Yeah.
Well, you went gallivanting across the globe. So, you know, it got put on the back burner for that. I just haven't watched it yet because I figured we're going to cover it at some point. So.
Okay. Well, then I won't talk about it too much, but
okay.
It's a shot on shitio kind of slasher movie.
Already love it.
Yeah, I'll just tell you the very opening, because again, I don't want to ruin it. It's basically at the beginning of the movie opens, a kid kills his parents, and 20 years later, he like escapes from this mental institution and goes on a rampage, and it goes,
as you do.
Yeah, it goes kind of off the rails from there. Yeah, that's all I'll say about it. But I'll link that in the show notes if I can find it online for free. I'll link that in there too. Yeah, that's called Freeway Maniac. It's from 1989. So that's primarily what I got a chance to watch.
That's your tease for an upcoming episode in the future that I don't know when it will happen yet.
Someday.
Yeah, someday. So I guess that means it's my turn, huh? I didn't watch anything that, well, I guess I did. I'll start with the one that I kind of been annoyed about for the better part of a week now. I wanted to bring it up last week, but I had other stuff I wanted to talk about more. So I watched Happy Gilmore 2.
Oh, I watched the first one last week, but I didn't want to bring it up because it's old hat. But
I actually really like the first one for what it is. I realize it's not a great film. Like, it's not anything special, but it kind of scratches that nostalgia itch. And I do, much like a lot of the movies we talk about, like, I miss like just a stupid throwaway comedy that like you're in and out in like an hour and a half. It's got some laughs. It's got some dumb stuff. And I'm sorry, Shooter McGavin might be the best villain in the history of cinema, like, period. I'm not really going to ruin the story of Happy Gilmore 2 because the movie does a good job of ruining it for you. Like, there's no point in me bashing it. Here's what I want to say about it. First, this movie, I don't think I laughed through the whole fucking thing. I just felt lazy. Like, all the jokes that they're trying to really overhandedly like shove down your throat, all the like, they're just 100% playing to the audience that saw the first Happy Gilmore movie, which makes sense. That's who's going to see this movie. But at the same time, it's like, we already saw that joke done once 30 years ago, way better. Why are we doing it again? And the other thing that is really fucking annoying me with this movie is because it's, you know, I listen to a lot of like, you know, sports podcasts and talk and shit like that and other things. And it keeps coming up in as a talking point, not just on sports talk, because it's a sports movie, but also on like different movie pods and stuff like that. look, I'm not necessarily opposed to a movie having a shitload of cameos in it. We just covered Dewey Cox a couple weeks ago, and that movie had a shitload of cameos in it. But that movie managed to make the majority of those cameos, if not entertaining, at least not obnoxious, just because you can get, I'm just going to use an arbitrary number, like 100 people to cameo in your movie. Doesn't mean you should. You know, they're not like, I don't have anything against Eminem, the rapper, the performer, or anything like that.
Or the candy.
Eminem, the cameo actor, or the candy. I don't have anything against the candy either. The actor in a like role that is very much so playing off a very distinct like side character from the first movie. It's just like, this doesn't land. This just kind of fucking sucks. Travis Kelce's fucking obnoxious in general, so I don't care to see him in any aspect of any film. The only real saving grace I'll give the movie, for me, is John Daly, which admittedly he's a cameo, but they actually gave him a character. They're not so much a character arc, but he's an actual character within the movie. So it, at least him being there, it's like it feels so much like an Adam Sandler joke. And I mean, it's 100% like, oh yeah, well, this is an Adam Sandler movie, so it makes sense why they're having him here doing what he's doing. And that's fine. There's nothing really negative to say about him in this movie. But outside of him, this whole fucking movie is just like, okay, either why are we doing this? To use my like words that I use all the time, why is this 2 hours fucking long? And why are we forcing these jokes instead of writing new jokes that could also be funny? Like, I was totally on board to watch another Happy Gilmore movie, and just the way they went about it just fell flat on like every conceivable level for me.
I think the lesson here is that like there's a reason that sports people are in sports and they're not comedians or actors. And I wasn't gonna say it last week, but when you brought up the baseball thing and you were talking about the comeback and or the whatever the current one was for the current season,
I think it's the clubhouse.
Sports people, like athletes, to me seem sometimes like the most try-hardiest people to be edgy on things, and it's just like the most milquetoast edgy thing. Like, I remember that guy that pitched for San Francisco with the big beard. Was it like Brian Richardson or somebody like that? He was. Yeah. It's like,
I know what you're talking. I could see him. I don't remember. His
cool.
name,
you have a beard. So. Wow. What a personality trait. Mm-hmm. I mean, to be
Brian
fair.
Burns from the NHL, when he was there, he looked like a Sasquatchian hobo for the majority of his career. And that was like his thing. So
they have to be identified by these features because they wear a uniform. It's called a uniform because it's all a uniform thing. So that's the way you can stand out. But it always feels like, I don't know, sports players. Like, I totally get the Travis Kelce thing. Like, haven't we seen enough of this guy that's on every fucking commercial everywhere, at least during football season?
The sad thing about the Travis Kelce thing, his cameo, like what they have him do in the movie, if he was just some generic guy who's not named Travis Kelce, preferably not another cameo, just you got some guy who is in A&R or whatever to come up there and be an asshole for these couple scenes, I don't know that it would be funny, but I wouldn't be annoyed by it. You know, I'd be like, all right, whatever, moving on. Like, this is, again, Adam Sandler movie. You kind of know what humor you're getting yourself into. You're not expecting a Big Lebowski level movie. You're expecting an Adam Sandler. I think it's just the fact that it was Travis Kelce that fucking annoyed me. For him in particular. But like, they got a bunch of golfers in this, and I refuse to call those, you know, athletes, I guess, based off playing golf, because John Daly's a perfect example of why they're probably not. But, you know, all the golfers they have in it, for what they have them do, they're all fine. Like, they're in there, they're playing a role that makes sense for this particular movie. And it is a sequel to a movie that I don't know how financially great it was, but that movie's popular, the first one. Like, people like it in general. So I get why you would have a bunch of actual golfers show up, but just some of the other shit, it's just like, Jesus Christ. And I will have one potential spoiler with it. So for a guy who went out of his way to say all these great things about Carl Weathers when he passed, and, you know, we love Carl Weathers. You do, I do. Everyone should, because he's fucking great. Why do you go and, like, piss all over his character by like recasting his estranged son as some guy who, one of the things I always liked about the first movie is the low budget effect of giving Carl Weathers a fake hand by just having him hold a hand in his sleeve and pulling the sleeve down. So it's noticeably about a hand length longer than his other hand. It's like a stupid, really simple effect, but it worked because it was a dumb move. Well, his kid, for some reason, is like 400 pounds, which, all right, whatever. He talks like the hillbilly guy from The Water Boy, who just doesn't make it. So he talks like that for some reason. And for some unexplained reason, he also has a wooden hand, but his wooden hand like goes down to like his fucking ankle. Like they extend it that much more. And again, okay, you're obviously trying to hammer home the joke from the first movie, but now you just turned him into this fucking like Mardi Gras costume, like wacky waving inflatable tube man look, plus like 300 pounds. Like, why? Why did we do this? I mean, if you like the first movie, I guess watch it just to get it out of your system. But Jesus Christ, there's a lot of things. And I didn't even get through the biggest problems with it. Like, that's just some of the things that annoyed me with it on a very high level part. So I kind of feel like fuck that movie.
Maybe Adam Sandler just isn't that funny anymore. Maybe he never really was that funny.
I mean, he's got a couple movies that I like. I like the movie Airheads. He's in that, but he's not the lead in that. I don't know what else that he's in. There's probably a couple others. I think now that he's got to be pushing 60 at this point, I think
he's pretty close.
However old he is. I actually like some of his roles where he's been a dramatic actor, like the movie where he took some kid out of like Turkestan or whatever and made him like an NBA player. Some like, I don't know. That's the whole premise is he pulls this kid out of like the D League in Europe somewhere and like brings him to the NBA. That movie was fine. He has had a couple others that are anywhere from fine to downright good, but his comedic roles, I mean, I think he was recycling what he did as a comedian when he was younger, but now it just feels fucking flat. What else did I watch? You want the good or the bad?
Let's do the good. Let's change it up.
Coming off a rapid fire, I watched Showdown in Little Tokyo, which is just fucking brilliant. So it's kind of like a role reversal. Like instead of Brendan Lee carrying the movie, he's kind of like the goofy cop who's playing alongside Dolph Lundgren, who is a samurai, apparently. Not quite sure how that worked. Didn't really like it when Tom Cruise did it. Somehow when Dolph Lundgren does it, I'm kind of okay with it. This movie is just like a dead body a minute action flick. It's ridiculous. There's as many like insane fight scenes and like gunfights as you could ever have. And it's got one of the greatest lines from Brandon Lee ever. If he had had a 70-year career, this would still be one of his greatest lines when he looks right at Dolph Lundgren. He goes, I don't remember his character's name. He goes, "Hey, Dolph." And he's like, "Ugh." He goes, "You got one of the biggest dicks I've ever seen on a man." And then they go back out to fighting. I'm like, that's amazing. Why don't we have more of this? It's ridiculous. It's everything you want in I think that was late 80s, maybe early 90s, whatever it was, that kind of action movie. Chef's Kiss. Absolutely another one that will probably get covered in more detail at some point, because apparently we're Brendan Lee fans.
It's not a surprise to me, but okay.
You seen that one before or no?
Yeah, no, I've seen it, but it's not a surprise that I'm a fan of Brandon Lee.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Well, you said surprise. It's like you were surprised.
Well,
just got to give him a chance.
People who aren't in this conversation, I don't know. Then lastly, I stumbled onto a movie called They Call Me Macho Woman. I was like, well, that sounds interesting. And it's got a very like shitty poster that I was like, all right, this is either going to be like really fucking good or really fucking bad. And it is, you know, when a movie stops being bad and becomes torturous, but you sit through it anyway.
Yeah.
That's what this movie is. This movie is like an hour and a half that feels like it's 6 hours long. It is just like these scenes that are like redeeming are so few and far between that it almost doesn't fucking matter. And it literally just leaves you sitting there like, I mean, let's be real. It's 2025. I'm sitting there fucking around my phone like, God, I wish I didn't put this on. Like, just kind of scrolling through it as this woman goes around, kind of taking turns between getting her ass kicking, sort of kicking ass, but never really. I don't know. I don't know what I wanted. I think I wanted like a more grimy Wonder Woman type story where she basically just was some chick that, because the cover's got her in some like USA Get Up or whatever, and it's fine, but like it definitely does not pay off. And I don't think I'm going to subject you to that for a full episode because that was just fucking torturously bad. I don't know how many watch checks I did, but I'm like, God damn, this is still fucking going. Like, here we go. All right. One of those.
It's only been 3 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It's only been 3 minutes and I'm still not entertained. But yeah, I think we've both stumbled on or subjected people to one or more of those, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Comes with the job.
Yeah. Kind of get some perverse pleasure out of it.
I don't know about perverse, but there's something to be said about that. Maybe not with that movie, though. There was a different one that I watched yesterday that was kind of perverse. That was well, that's a different story for a different one we've been watching. So, yeah, anything you want to tack on before we switch gears and take a break here?
Let's switch gears and take a break here.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to go flush some pets down the toilet. We're going to come back and talk about the movie Alligator.
Hey folks, AI John here. Are you tired of only listening to sad old podcasts that tell you what they want to talk about? If you answered yes, then check out the You Run Horror Movie Review podcast. Scott and Mark want you to vote on the movie of choice and ask you for a 3-word review of those movies. They're the only podcast where you're not only encouraged to take part, but actually take over the show in every way. You can find the You Run podcast and other fine shows at yourunpodcast.com.
All right, so we're back. Before we get going on this, I do want to take a quick second and let everyone know that this Alligator from 1980 is going to be our feature title for this month's Frankenstein's at Batch Brewing in Corktown. We'll be showing it on Thursday, August 21st at 7 p.m. You can come out. It's 1400 Porter Street in Detroit, Michigan. We will be there watching this fun movie. Is it fun? Well, we're going to find out.
Come have a drink.
We start these with, come have a drink. Come have a hot dog. We start these with a third-party review, and this week's third-party review comes from Russ G. He says, not an awful creature feature. It covers all the bases from hot as fuck lady scientists and crooked politicians to Dr. Frankenstein's big pharma guy being destroyed by his own monster. More than a little at the end borrowed from Jaws, but this one has a lot more gore. It's fast-paced enough to hold your interest at the end, and it's probably entertaining enough on the big screen for audiences 4 decades ago. So using my Gradum, God, this got bad. So starting over here.
Does he like it?
Probably entered 2 out of 5 stars.
All right.
It fell apart kind of quickly there. So my bad reading aside, Sean, what's this movie about? You read better than me.
Okay, so for that, we go over to IMDb and we put in the word alligator. Don't put in crocodile. That's a different movie. You put in alligator, pulls up a 1980 movie that has an R rating. This is an hour and 31 minutes, so a little bit more of John's speed. It gets a 6.1 out of 10 with 18,000 ratings. And we go to the storyline and the plot. We never know which one it's supposed to be, but they wouldn't put it up on the top if you weren't supposed to read it first. It says, a pet baby alligator is flushed down a toilet and survives in the city sewers. 12 years later, it grows to an enormous size, thanks to a diet of discarded laboratory dogs injected with growth hormones. Now, humans have entered the menu. And if we scroll on down to the storyline, this one comes care of constant contributor Michael Brook. You can email him at michael@everyman.demon.co.uk. And he writes, Ramon, the alligator, is flushed down the toilet as a baby and grows into a gargantuan monster by eating the corpses of laboratory animals that have undergone dubious hormone experiments, thus providing all the ecological and social subtext that one could possibly wish for, even if one doesn't normally go for films about giant alligators eating people left, right, and center, which is the inevitable and tragic result of Ramon's decision that the outside world looks rather more interesting than the sewers. Michael's adding a little bit of exposition here for this alligator, don't you think?
A little bit, but I'm okay.
I like that he wrote it in the first person for the alligator. Kind of.
That's true. Before we get too far into this or into this at all, who is in this movie that we care to mention?
Okay, so this movie has a lot of, this is from 1980, right? So of course it has a lot of old school actors that probably nobody listening to this podcast has ever heard of. So I'm not going to go through most of those people. Didn't say I'm not going to go through any of them, but I'm not going to go through most
one.
of them.
I think, well, they might not know his name, but I bet they know him by his face because he's in a Tarantino.
All right, so I'm going to start with my people, and you tell me if one of these people aren't the people that you're thinking of. First off, we have Robert Forster. He plays David Madison. He was Max Cherry in Jackie Brown, which is a Tarantino film. He was in The Descendants, not the one from Disney, but the other one. And he was in Mulholland Drive, David Lynch's movie. He was in Olympus Has Fallen, and the new Twin Peaks series. He has since passed, unfortunately. We have Robin Riker, who plays Marissa Kendall. You may recognize her from such films as Psycho Granny, or TV shows like The Gregory Hines Show, Thunder Alley, or Get a Life with Chris Elliott, or maybe not. But mostly she's been in a lot of soap operas. So she was recognizable to me, but I don't remember seeing her in any of the things that I mentioned because I just never got around to watching The Gregory Hines Show or Thunder Alley. And then the other person that I recognized was Henry Silva, who plays Colonel Brock. He usually plays a tough guy. We talked about him in Bulletproof. He's been in Above the Law. He was in Code of Silence, which is a Chuck Norris movie. He was in Cannonball Run 2, amongst several other things.
Yeah, you already hit it. It was Robert Forster for me is the main guy that I recognize in this, but you're right. So start with kind of like backstory for us on this. Like for me, I do remember finding this in a video store first, and I was always kind of intrigued by the cover of this, and specifically it's the cover that's the very dark, grimy looking like alligator coming out of the sewer cover. I didn't even really need a storyline. I saw an alligator coming out of a sewer and I was like, well, that's gotta be fun. Later found out that this was a movie that was on TV like fucking constantly. Like it kind of made the rounds between USA and TNT and kind of bounced back and forth between Up All Night and Monster Vision and all that stuff. This is a movie that has, when they shot it with the intention of a TV cut. So there's two very distinct versions of the film. I actually think you can kind of tell that the way that some of this movie plays out, especially the first half of the movie. But I don't necessarily think that it's not necessarily a detractor, although it might come back up at some point. Do you have any type of history with this, or is this a first watch for you?
No, it's always been on the radar. It's just not a movie that I ever actually had seen before. So I knew of it. I just had never seen it.
Well, being your first watch, what are some of the things, if any, did you enjoy about Alligator from 1980?
Well, I kind of wanted to expound a little bit. Expound? Is that the way to expand? Possibly on the plot. So basically, the movie starts out with a little girl, which is actually Marissa Kendall, who is like a major character later on down the line, getting a baby alligator the movie starts off right off the bat with somebody getting their leg twisted off, or their foot at least, which is great. I love a movie that starts with a lot of action. But basically they flush her pet baby alligator down the toilet because her like drunk shitheel of a dad claims that he found a turd behind the clothes hamper or something.
Can we backtrack a second on this?
Yes.
So Marissa and her family go to this like roadside attraction in Florida where there's this guy wrestling an alligator. He gets maimed and does not die, but gets like basically dead as fuck in front of this child who's probably 5 or 6 in this scene. She's pretty young. Maybe
8, 7.
I don't know.
7, 8. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So they decide at this same, murder exhibit to purchase a baby alligator. And then they relocate the alligator home to Chicago. So this alligator is now gone from Florida all the way up north to Chicago. So it goes up to Chicago. And then, as you were saying, the dad gets like comically pissed off and flushes the thing down the toilet. And it still manages to make its way all the way to New York, which I think is a pretty amazing journey for this little alligator.
I don't think it doesn't take place in New York. I don't know what city it is, but they mention the Midwest in the movie.
I could have sworn they say it's in New York.
I don't think you're right, John. Sorry, Charlie.
That's fine.
Anyways, the alligator gets subjected to, it's like the rest of the little story and whatever the plot says. The alligator eats leftover laboratory animals and whatnot that have been treated with these hormones. So it grows to just monumental size. And years later, Detective Madison is getting the case of all these dismembered body parts kind of floating in or being found, animals that are twice the size that they were when they disappeared, arms, legs, feet, toes, funerals for toes, and all this other stuff. and he's got to then try and figure out how these body parts have been making their way into the sewer, and how this soon to be seen alligator got so big. That's the gist of the story, at least that I took away from it.
I mean,
So, likes.
more or less. It does take place in New York, though.
Oh.
Telling you.
You found that? You have a source to back that up?
Not yet, but
okay.
I'm sure that I remember that it's at some point mentioning New York in it. But anyway,
So likes.
so likes.
Like I said, I think I really enjoy a movie that starts off with action right out of the gate. And poor old Bobby Purcell gets his foot twisted off by trying to show off his non-existent skills with the alligator, and the alligator does the roll and twists his foot. It doesn't really come off, but it's implied. So I really enjoyed that. I love that the chief has one of those mustaches. Like, the chief has white hair, but he has one of those mustaches where you can tell that he smoked so much that it's left a yellow spot right in the middle of his mustache, like between his lip and his nose. That's always a good sign of someone who takes care of their bodies. And I don't want to rattle off all my likes, but I really enjoyed the running gag of Robert Forster losing his hair, which it gets brought up several times at the beginning of the movie. He makes fun of it on his own. And he's clearly, his hair is thinning. It thinned for the rest of his life, and he just continued. He never shaved it off. He just had the thin hair. If you see him in Jackie Brown, it's still thin. So I appreciate, as a bald guy who decided to take it all off, that he stuck with it and decided to keep the wisps that he had. And I mean, and he addresses it in a sarcastic way. So that's fun. And for me, like, as ridiculous as a lot of the movie is, Robert Forster sells this movie. He is this movie. Like, he is so believable as this character that, there's a scene where he's in the sewer and he has a guy down there helping him, another cop, and they're down there, and the cop gets dragged away by this huge alligator. It's the first time they really come face to face with it. They're running down the sewer trying to get away from it. They're climbing up this ladder, and the other cop gets stuck, and he gets dragged away and basically pulled right out of Forrester's grip. And the scene, they show his face, and it is so pained. He sincerely looks like he actually had a partner get dragged away by this alligator. And it's like, man, it just, the way that he sells it, it's like this is really happening to him. And I really love that at the first 45 minutes, I'll say the first half of the movie, and that may be a little bit of exaggeration, maybe the first 30 minutes, the way they portray the alligator itself is very much, I mean, the movie is very much hugely inspired by Jaws, but
it's a Jaws knockoff.
Yeah.
It's
there's
pretty
no question.
unashamed about
Yes.
it. So,
but I love
even the soundtrack is
they have some of the same
downgraded
hits.
version of the Jaws theme.
Some of the same stabs as the Jaws scene. But I love that they try for the first part of the movie to really disguise what the alligator looks like. And they'll just show the snout, or they'll show the jaws open, or just kind of the head, but they won't show the full thing. When they do actually show it, it looks pretty good. I feel like it's a scale thing. It's a optical illusion kind of thing where they have a little set, set with miniatures and stuff, but they have this huge or a regular size alligator walking through it or whatever. So it kind of gives that look.
It's a mix of different things, but there are points where it's a guy in a suit.
Really?
You want a fun fact about it?
Yes. I love fun facts.
The guy in the suit was played by Kane Hodder.
The guy in the suit was played by Kane Hodder. So Kane Hodder wasn't in the suit,
guy
but they played
No,
a
he
guy.
wasn't. I said that totally wrong. Kane Hodder is the guy in the suit at certain points, because I'm an idiot.
I liked it better that the guy in the
anyways.
suit was played by Kane Hodder. That's impressive.
To answer your question, it does take place. So, reading verbatim, the movie Alligator 1980 takes place in Chicago, Illinois, despite filming locations suggesting otherwise. So maybe that's why I always thought it was, because it suggests otherwise.
That was a legit question that I had, was where is this supposed to take place? Because they have Chicago accents. The chief has a Chicago accent. Forster, I think he's actually from that area, so he has a legit sounding accent. But everything it doesn't look like what I would expect Chicago to look like in 1980. It looks like more gritty New York. Not to say that Chicago wasn't probably gritty. But the other few things that I wanted to mention is that, still on likes, because I have quite a few, some of the kills are genuinely like amazing. They're hilarious, or they're just over the top. And when there's a scene, it's just kind of like a throwaway scene. 45 minutes, this movie, it literally breaks open. Like the alligator busts out of the sewer, he comes through the sidewalk, and there's a scene where the alligator is walking down the street, and apparently a guy plays Kane Hodder in the suit. Sorry, John. Anyways, there's a scene where these kids there's like a birthday party, and they're cowboys and Indians, and like one of the kids is a pirate, or pirates too. And they have their little brother walk the surfboard. They have their little brother walk the diving board, and they're like, "Oh, you can walk the plank." And he like they push him in the pool, and the alligator's under there, and the alligator just blood bubbles up. And it's like, as soon as they sacrificed a kid,
well, they straight up fucking feed a kid to this thing.
When they sacrificed a kid to this alligator, I knew that they meant business. Like, I knew they were not going to pull any punches. And the last thing that I'll mention, because I want to hear your likes, is that they just randomly have shit like cars blow up for no reason, which is just, that's always, I'm a huge fan of cars, like explosions for no reason. Just, oh, the car, like it ran over, I don't know, a blade of grass, explode, just things happen for no reason, and it just sells it for me.
For me, there's a lot to go on that I like in this movie, and you've kind of touched on a couple of them. You mentioned how they kind of tease what the alligator looks like for the first half of the movie or so. I really, and I know this is kind of like a Jaws ripoff too, when they get the pictures of the alligator as he's fucking up someone for reasons. I don't know why, but these black and white pictures of this alligator, when they like fish him out of this guy's camera, it's not scary per se, but it's a really cool like little hint at what you're gonna get somewhere down the road in this movie. I thought that was really well done, and honestly, the pictures are really cool. Like whoever took I'm assuming they just took pictures of whatever animatronic or
model or something
laying around. Yeah, but they did a good job with it to make it look good for its purpose. I do love the effects in this movie. It's obviously all of this is practical effects, and there's a mix of different things, and they all, looking at it in 2025 with 2025 eyes and like HD and all that shit, like most of the shit you can kind of see or have a pretty good idea of what's going on, but that doesn't take anything away from it. It holds up really well for what this movie is. It almost has a bit of a like 50s 60s monster movie feel, because they use the actual alligator walking around the miniature stuff. And I mean, when he's doing that, it's really just walking around. It's not really doing much of anything else, but it looks really fun. And it gives this interesting like level of campiness to the movie that, quite frankly, a lot of these like there's a million Jaws knockoff movies out there, and there's a lot of them that, to varying degrees of success. This one manages to take a lot of like the ideas from Jaws that are really good and kind of make them campy somehow and still keep them being good. I'm not going to go as far to say they're better, but they're entertaining in their own right.
Well, I think the thing with a lot of those movies too is they try too hard and they miss the mark because of it. And this one, it really takes a lot of the history of all, like you said. It takes
the tension out.
And they use like the history of like the 50s and 60s monster movies to kind of put it in place with this alligator instead. And I wanted to mention too, you mentioned the pictures. I have just recently watched Jaws 2, so I appreciate that it's like a full homage to the picture scene at the beginning of the movie, and they just have like, it's just like, I think that might be a shark in this picture. No, in Alligator, the pictures are full on, like you said. It's like pictures of an actual alligator or a model or something. It's like undeniable that this is an alligator.
Right. I mean, they still try, but I really like the character of the police chief, whatever his name is, Chief Clark, because not only is his mustache comical, and like you mentioned, the cigarette like schmutz that's on his face all the time, I like that he is just this stereotypical like cop procedural like chief. He's always like, we're gonna go, we're gonna get out of here, you're gonna get fired, or all this like, City Hall's blowing shit up my ass. All that. That's what he is to a T, like the entire time that he's in the movie. And I'm not quite sure why they felt the need to throw that gag in there, but I kind of like that they did, because I don't want to go as far as to say it's endearing, but like it's entertaining because it gives a character that's really kind of a throwaway character. Like, he doesn't really do a lot other than give, Robert Forster shit throughout the movie. That's kind of what his role is, but he does it in a way that kind of is comical for what it turns into. And then the only, there's, again, I could probably break this down scene by scene if we wanted to and go over things that I like. You mentioned the alligator popping out and literally breaking open the movie. As great as that is, they somehow managed to top it for the third act, because once the third act kicks off, it goes quick. Like, the third act is maybe 10 minutes, but holy shit, what a 10 minutes it turns into, because I've posted it on our social medias before. I'm sure I will again. I'm going to just put it out there. The scene where this alligator shows up for what I assume is a wedding. Holy shit, does all chaos break loose, and it is just entertaining as hell. And it's fun because you're still very much so in a scene that's a horror movie scene, but they're obviously in on the joke. They're having fun with this, and it's so ridiculous. It's almost like a Looney Tunes, how insane this wedding gets, but it plays out in just spectacular fashion. And then it wraps up pretty quick.
The movie plays so many different things, like so many different little pieces. There's so many moving parts. They even have time with the alligator killing people, with it escaping, with people running from it and escaping. They even have time to throw in the doctor and the police,
the hunter dude.
Yeah, all that stuff. And then there's even like a love affair, like a little love scene that happens in the movie. So they have all this time to do all this. And you start to feel, even with all this stuff crammed into an hour and 31-minute movie, and even though it's clearly a descendant of Jaws and like a Jaws kind of, exploitation, knockoff kind of thing, it's still, all those pieces seem to really work together. Like, it still makes sense. Like we talked about Megan or Matugan last week, and there are so many things happening in that movie, and it's longer, and they have to explain it to you, like what actually, so this is how this is happening, and blah, 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 blah. This movie, they don't have to do that, because it all just, it doesn't all 100% make sense. It fits together enough that you can connect the dots on your own. And I think that's kind of what we were saying last week that we didn't get. And it's just even though this is like a knockoff, it still handles it really well, which is kind of impressive, especially for the time. And it shows you the skill that went into basically building this whole world to have it actually make sense.
Well, they do a really good job at taking a really simple idea, and I'm going to kind of turn this into negatives or nitpicks with it. I do feel like, although it doesn't really take away from the movie that much, some of the police procedural shit that goes on in this movie, especially in the first half, it does kind of feel like they did this because they needed to get it so long so they could put this on TV. There's some stuff like that in there, and again, by the time the second half of the movie starts, you forget all about that. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But there is a little bit of that where it's like, all right. I mean, and furthermore, once they realize this is definitively an alligator doing this, I don't understand why the police are still involved. Shouldn't that be an animal control problem at this point? But here we are. So it's not above reproach, but like you said, it does enough to kind of connect those dots together that it's nothing so offensive that you're like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah, for sure.
You got any nitpicks you want to go on with us?
Yeah, just a few. Like you said, it does feel like with a lot of the stuff in the first third of the movie, they are padding it. And there is the discovery, right? They have to start understanding what they're actually going against or what they're up against. Right. They have to do all that stuff to kind of reveal it to the audience as well. I mean, I guess you could have them just immediately start, oh shit, there's a big alligator here, let's run. They could just do that. But they have all this other stuff going on. But they're trying to find this alligator through a lot of the movie until the alligator doesn't give a shit anymore. It just wants to be found. And I have two feelings on that. They go into the sewer and they get chased by the alligator, and the one cop gets dragged away, and Madison wakes up in the hospital, and he had a previous partner that passed away. So he's, kind of got the PTSD for that. They might actually even call it that. Well, I don't think they call it that, but You can tell that's what he's got. He's got the classic.
I think they call it like shell shocked or something like that.
Which is it's the old school term for it. But like,
right.
They're trying to find this alligator again. And I was thinking like, why doesn't, and he ends up going to the same place later in the movie. Why doesn't he just go back to the same place where he saw it the first time? It doesn't seem like it's going to be straying too far from that. I guess the other nitpick that I have is like when the alligator breaks out and it just like starts chomping people and swallowing people whole, and that kid runs out with the bread knife. You know, he's going to like go, I'm going to go get this alligator on my own. That alligator.
I like his mom though. His mom's pretty funny.
Yeah.
She's sitting there like with a tall boy Schlitz, like
Joey.
And then stop being a piece of shit, Joey. Get in the house.
Where are you going?
Yeah, go fight an alligator, Mom.
Yeah, I gotta go take care of business. The alligator's so huge and it covers so much ground topside, but nobody has seen it. Like they don't see it, and it just like, oh shit, this huge alligator just ate these fucking people, blowing up cars and all this other stuff. I mean, he does eat the cop, but you know. And the other thing is like in that wedding scene, the guy, so the movie has this social commentary of the laboratory owner who's buddy, or he's like chummy with the mayor, and he gave a bunch of money to get the mayor reelected. And it's
a very 1980s bad guy.
Yes, for sure. He's helping with the chemical company or whatever. And his son-in-law, his newly soon to be son-in-law, is like the head scientist that's working on this hormone chemical thing that's like this growth hormone for these animals, which I guess you don't really ever know why he's actually doing it, but he's doing it. And that's how the alligator gets big. The alligator extracts its revenge on everybody in this wedding party because it's the rich guy, Slade, his daughter and son-in-law are getting married. The alligator comes into the party. All his tunnel vision, the alligator's tunnel vision goal is to take care of this guy and take out the scientist guy. And he does it. But the limo driver, the whole time, the mayor is getting smashed against the car, and the limo driver is like, he's got this look on his face. He's like, like looking at the alligator. Dude, put the car in drive and drive the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that. Although I
mean,
also
it's funny. It's
don't
hilarious.
have a problem with it because it's hilarious.
Right.
Yeah. So
you can't complain too much because it's great.
Right. I mean, just the way that scene kicks off with the woman in the red dress, just like losing her shit. And then there probably is, but I can't think of a scene where it goes from like 0 to 100 in a more entertaining fashion than what that scene does. It's so over the top that
I would just counter that with when the alligator just busts out of the ground. It's like the kids are just
that's
playing
also
stickball.
Really good. Yeah.
Just out playing some stickball, and the alligator just busts out. Like, what the fuck is what is going on here?
Well, the thing that makes him busting out of the ground so great, it's not so much the kids, it's the cop and him flipping the car, and then him, like, the cop is what sells that and what happens to him more so than the kids playing stickball. Although that's a good touch, even though it's dark, so I'm assuming it's summertime, I think, because if it's Chicago, it should be cold if it's not. So I'm assuming that, they're out at like 10 o'clock at night playing stickball, which
yeah, sure.
Okay.
Bunch of hoodlum kids in the 1980. Yeah, I can believe that.
Why not? So yeah, the only other thing I would say that's really a nitpick that I could do without, I get why they put it in there, but I don't really feel the need for the flashback of Robert Forster's like partner getting, like, we already saw that, like the red tint, like nightmare scenario dream scene. I mean, I could have done without that. It just felt like redundant at that point, because at that point the alligator's already out on the loose. He's already gotten fired and like robbed the evidence room. So why do we need to relive this part? He's already on like a warpath with this alligator. So seemed kind of silly to me. I feel like I'm forgetting something with this. Is there anything you want to add with it, or?
No, I think I'm ready for hot dogs, man. Yeah. Let's fire up the grill.
All right, well, let's fire up the grill and let's go. Go ahead.
Then you're in for a big treat, bro, because it's hot dog time.
You want to lead us off this week?
Yeah, I'll start us off. So for me, I had never seen this movie before, but it had been on my radar for a long time, as I mentioned before. The movie's just pure fun. It starts off as a Jaws clone, and then it starts to develop this whole sense of wackiness on its own. It starts off serious, but by the end, and they know that it's just this silly thing, and it just goes crazy from there. And to add to that, it has enough of social commentary, and this social commentary bend to say, hey, these rich people are responsible for dumping these hormones in the water, which makes the alligator bigger, which makes it, I don't know, become enraged somehow to go after the people that did it dirty. And it goes after these rich people.
They say the hormones make its appetite insatiable.
Okay, well, it was proven in this movie. And then it just destroys anybody else that gets in this way. But you don't even have to watch this to figure out. Most of that is because it's such a subplot to the rest of the movie, all the carnage and everything else that goes on. We've got other subplots, lots of subplots, but they all seem to work together in harmony much differently than we talked about in Megan 2, which I mentioned earlier. I don't use this expression much because I don't really care for it, but I got to give a chef's kiss, a full hot dog to the alligator. I mean, I'd give a full hot dog to the alligator if I could get away with my life, but the movie Alligator gets a full hot dog. I just really enjoyed it. Where have you been all my life, Alligator? How could I not have seen you before?
Whose hot dog is this, huh? Is it yours?
I agree. Where have you been all my life, Alligator? So this movie's got a little bit of a pacing problem at the beginning of it, which is likely just due to the TV cut, and it's fine. Once Ramon starts alligating around, it's just fun from there. The effects are mostly fun and still look great in that kind of cheesy way that gives it a little bit of charm, which I enjoy. The acting, Robert Forster's great in it, and aside from that, everyone's good enough that and might even exceed expectations for what you would expect out of your generic 80s killer animal movie. Considering how much the movie tries to copy Jaws, it never really builds any tension in the story. It actually replaces it with B-movie campiness, but it does it in a way that works to its benefit for this movie. I mean, to me, this movie, again, it's not perfect. You could pick it apart, but the positives far outweigh the negatives in this movie, like by a huge margin. So yeah, it's a full hot dog movie for me. I don't know if I would call this a guilty pleasure because I don't feel guilty about liking it, but it's absolutely one that I have no issue throwing on in the rotation, here and there, because it is ridiculous and a lot of fun. And the sequel is a whole different kind of ridiculous, but that's a different story for a different day.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention that I was blown away, honestly, by the effects. Like, I was not expecting it to look this good. I was expecting it to almost be like a hand puppet at some point, like a Triumph, but as an alligator. And it was like, oh no, shit, this looks pretty
cigar.
Yeah, this looks pretty good. Like, I'm kind of really pleasantly surprised with how good the effects look in this movie.
Yeah, and again, they hold up for what they are. You're not gonna put this next to like a nature, show and be like, oh, 1 for 1. But
Sir Richard Attenborough presents Alligator.
Right. I think they more than did what they needed to. That leads us to question of the week, which this will be a quick segment this week. Our question is, which real world beast has been underrepresented and deserves its own starring role in a killer animal horror flick? We only have one response.
Aww.
It's from Boomer.
Yay.
We love you, Boomer. Thank you for responding. Boomer's at Podcast in the Woods or Woods Podcast 1 on whatever social media you fancy. And he says, I want to see a Canadian survivalist horror film about a killer moose, which I said, Kevin Smith's been threatening us with that movie for about a decade now. I said, okay, how about I want to see that made by someone competent? Their response.
I want to say, Boomer, if you have never seen it, there is a documentary. I don't know, John, have you ever seen it? It's called Project Grizzly. You know this movie? Have you heard of this?
Is that the one? I think I have.
Say
what you're going to say. I think I remember where this goes.
So. Canadian inventor Troy Hurtubise I don't know if he was like attacked by a bear at some point, but he decides that he's going to make this bear-proof suit. And it is going to allow scientists to be able to research bears like up close. Kind of think of Grizzly Man, but it's a contingency plan for Grizzly Man when they get actually attacked by Grizzly Man. And it's called Project Grizzly. It's out there. You might be able to find it on YouTube. I'll link it in the show notes if I can find it. But the best part of this movie is not only that Troy Hurtubise is like this crazy person, but that he made these different iterations of the suit and he hired all these bikers to beat him or hit him with like pool cues and baseball, like spiked baseball bats. They hit him with cars. They like drop him off the back of a truck. They roll him down this huge hill and there's all this like archival footage of them doing these tests. So it's not a crazy moose, but it is a Canadian bear movie, I guess, where the inventor tries to, show this suit. And I think he tried to sell it to the US military, the suit that he had, because he looks ridiculous. I mean, he looks like a fucking mech by the time, like the third iteration of this suit, which is in the movie. But I think he eventually even, like, there was an evolution of this suit even further. And Troy Hurtubise did pass away before I think really much came of it. But I think he started like a company that was trying to make bulletproof vests and shit.
Now I kind of want to, I'm thinking of that guy's documentary where he invented the bulletproof vest and kept shooting himself in the chest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I forget what that's called.
Good too.
Yeah.
That was a good one though.
Yes.
Back to question of the week. Do you have a answer for this week? Do you have a animal that you would like to see in a killer animal movie?
I would love to see.
I would say let's take sharks off the menu.
Yeah, that's too easy.
A lot.
They're not underrepresented. I would say I would love to see a killer blobfish movie. A blobfish that just like sat there with a sad look on its face and maybe just rolled over people and absorbed them like an amoeba or something, like the Blob, but it would be blobfish. Let's see the Blob swim. Have we ever seen that?
No, I don't know.
We haven't even seen Bobby fly, but we should see a blobfish swim or something. Can you fly, Bobby?
I'm going to say platypus because I don't really know what they do, and I would be fine with seeing. I don't even know if I've seen a platypus represented on film at all. So the idea of having one be murderous, if we can get zombiers, we can get platypus or something like that.
They do have a poison barb under their tail.
Do they? I did not know that.
Yeah.
So look at that. So I think that's all we got for this week. Again, before we start to wrap up here, do want to mention that we are going to be showing this for Franks and Steins this month, August 21st at Batch Brewing. Again, come out there, have a beer, have some food, watch this movie with us. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. In the meantime, if you'd like to listen to any of our old episodes, you can do that on any podcast platform. We're on Spotify, iTunes, other stuff. You know what they are. Go to yourunpodcast.com. We are network members there. We would appreciate it while you are there that you not only check out our stuff, but check out one of the other shows that's on the You Run Podcast Network. They're all great and would appreciate you checking them out. Of course, social media, you can follow us at Dewey Podmonster on just about everything, the exception being Blue Sky, where we are at crap.town. And you can always also go to crap.town, which is our website, where you can go and leave us feedback, suggest episodes, tell us we suck, whatever you want to do. There's a message place there, or you can listen to all of our previous upcoming episodes. Both that's there too. Sean, what are we forgetting? Bring us home, wrap us up, whatever we got to do.
Well, I was going to add that if you want your question of the week answered on this show, you got to go on social media and see when John posts them. They're on all the places John cares about. And you can find them at either Dewey Pod Monster or at crap.town on Blue Sky. If you want to help support the show, you can do that by doing something I already talked about. I talked about the show notes. Everything we talk about in this show, we will leave in the show notes. Most of those are free. We try to make them as free as we can. But some of them are affiliate links. You'll be able to identify those by the ones that say Amazon next to them. Those are affiliate links. Like I mentioned, if you click those, you could take you to Amazon where you can buy the show or the movie or whatever it is we talked about. But also, if you add other crap to your cart and you buy that, that earns us a few bucks. It's crazy how that works, but it does, supposedly. So if you want to buy something cool for yourself, for your wife, for your loved one, for your husband, I don't know, whoever you are that listens to this, because we don't have great demographics. But if you want to do all that stuff, we get a few pennies. That's a great way to support the show. If you want to follow me on social media and see stupid little clips of stupid little movies that I think are stupidly funny, you can find me on Blue Sky exclusively. I am at internalbleeding.crap.town.
And that's it. That's all we got for this week. Until next week, we will say swell up, butt horns. We'll see you soon. Have a great week. Have a beer for us.
Will up.
Bird season's over, Butthorn.
And he says, not an awful feature.
Is that what he said?
No. What real world beast has been underrepresented? Yeah. Try it one
sure?
more time. What real